everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brina and I'm so excited to have you here. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review and a spoilery discussion for Love and Gelato by Jenna Welch. So this is my first time doing kind of a review and a discussion, and one that is spoiler-free. So I kind of have it broke down to what everything I want to talk about, and I'm going to do all of the spoiler-free things before I talk about all the spoilers, because I want to do kind of a discussion because I enjoyed this book a lot and there are some things that I just would love to discuss. So without further ado, let's get on into this. So this book is about Lena, and Lena's mother just passed away very tragically. So Lena is sent to Tuscany to live with her father as her mother's last dying wish. So she goes to Italy to meet with her father. Now while she's there, she gets in a lot of fun adventures. She also learns a lot of things about her mother that she didn't know beforehand. So she's starting to kind of question not only herself and her relationship with her mother as well. She learns a lot of secret things about Italy and a lot of amazing things about Italy and a lot of things about herself along the way. Now, as for the writing for this book, I thought it was absolutely stunning. Something I really enjoyed about this book was how well Jenna Welch described the world around Lena. So Lena is in Tuscany, and that is just a city filled with religion. It is filled with history, all these beautiful buildings, architecture, and Jenna Welch does such a fantastic job talking about the scenery and talking about how magnificent the cathedrals are and the staircases that they climb, and how it really just brings you down to earth, and how amazing and old everything is. Really makes you feel like you're there with her and you're living this experience through Italy, meeting all these new people, and everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. And I absolutely love the writing. This is my first Jenna Welch book, and it was honestly phenomenal. It was everything I kind of expected it to be, and then more. Now, our first main character here is Carolina, but she goes by Lena. And Carolina is 16. She is in high school, living her best life. And when her mother passes away, it kind of rocks her world. Her mother was her rock. She was the only child. And it's even worse when she is uplifted from her home and everything she knows to go live in Italy with this man. She has no idea who he is for a summer. Something I love about Lena is how confident she is in who she is. She knows what she wants and she goes after it. When Lena has a question about something, she goes through the end of the world to answer it. She will do anything she can for her friends, and I just absolutely loved Lena, and I loved her character development through this first part of the story where she was kind of this broken, just lost her mother, 16-year-old girl, into this end of summer, confident, knows who she is kind of girl we learned to know at the end of the story. And that was something that was phenomenal for me. I think she did such a fantastic job describing Carolina, and she was definitely someone that you could look up to and who you wanted to be. Now, the next main character I would like to talk about is Howard, just briefly because I don't want to ruin a lot about Howard for you. But Howard is Lena's father, and that's who she goes and visits while she is in Italy. She lives with him. Something I love about Howard is as we learn more about him through her mother's journal, he seems like such a sweet man, and it kind of just solidifies that for me about how he will go to the end of the world for his family, and that's obviously something that Lena gets from him. He is very charming, and he is very passionate about what he believes in and what he loves, and I can see a lot of parallels between Lena and Howard. Now, Lorenzo is the last character I want to talk about. Lorenzo is the first person that Lena meets while in Italy. So she, well, other than Howard, duh. And he is a very charming Texan Italian. He is in Italy for the summer when he normally isn't, so it's kind of like by chance they meet, and they end up going on all these incredible adventures and learn so much about each other. And in the end, it's just kind of like meant to be, with how great a friend that you can tell they're just going to be from the get-go. Lorenzo is very funny. He's very humorous. He's just funny. He's very fun-loving. He likes to go to parties and hang out with his friends, and I just have absolutely loved Lorenzo from the beginning of this book. He just seemed like such a sweet character, and you just knew he was going to be a very prominent figure throughout the story. As for the spoiler-free plot, I'm just gonna give you kind of a straight down intro. So basically, Lena is headed off to Italy and she goes and lives with this man named Howard, who is supposed to be her father. So while there, she gets given this journal that is all about her mother's adventures through Italy when she lived there as a teenager, young adult, 18, whatever you want to call that age. And she did not know anything about her mother in Italy. She did not really talk about it. But in her kind of last final days, she decided she would start talking about it. So Lena finally got this journal and she's following everything in her mother's journal and trying to live through her mother's journal in Italy. She learns a lot of amazing things about her mother, and she also meets a lot of amazing people she would not have met without the journal. And it's a fantastic, trust me. Now overall, I thought this was an amazing book. I absolutely loved the plot. I loved all the characters. The scenery is one of those things that kind of made it for me. It was constantly in Italy and looking at all these beautiful sights throughout Italy, and Jenna Welch did just an amazing job of making you feel like you were in Italy experiencing these things with Lena and Lorenzo. Overall, I absolutely love this book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and then it actually was rated on Goodreads as 4.1 out of 5. So overall, I think this was a fantastic book, but we're not done here, y'all. All right, let's talk about this book, y'all, because I just want to talk about the scenery just again, because I absolutely loved the scenery throughout this entire book. It was phenomenal. Italy is one of those places where I feel like everyone wants to go, or everyone wants to visit, or you see those like pictures on Facebook and you share them because it is just such a beautiful historic place. Now, she doesn't visit a lot of the big places you think of when you go to Italy, like the Trevi Fountain and things like that. So she doesn't go to things like that, but she does go to things that are prominent to her mother's experience there. For example, she goes to the church, the cathedral that is super, oh my gosh, I cannot remember the name, but the cathedral, and Howard is kind of telling her the story about how him and his mother and her mother came there, and it's just definitely one of those stories that make you feel like you're in it with the characters. And having a book that makes you feel like you're in the story with the characters, I feel like it's just that's what reading is all about. Reading is all about feeling like you're in this story and you're living this moment with these characters, and I just felt that way throughout this entire book. Nothing could change my mind about that, I don't think. Now, I love Lena because she was so mature for her age. When she went there and she had the slightest inkling that Howard might not be her dad, she jumped on it. And she was like, I'm not living with this man if whatever. So within a day, she finds out that Howard is not her father, gets on a train to Florence, okay? Travels to Florence with Ren, meets this guy who I cannot remember what his name was, the man who is her father, when he was just a jerk face. I was so mad for Lena because I was like, he was like, no, your mother was just a SLUT. No, I'm not your father. I was like, ah! And then everyone was like, yeah, he is the father, you are wrong. And I was like, what the heck is happening here? I was like, okay. I did love Lena because she really jumped on everything, and from the moment she got there, she could see the beauty in Italy with the American cemetery Howard works in, and she could just see the beauty of the place. And I feel like deep down she knew she was going to be happy there. She just kind of didn't want to admit it because obviously America's her home. America is where she had her grandmother, and her grandmother was like, deuces, Italy, you going there? Girl, I loved throughout the story how we were reading her mother's journal. Like, there were whole chapters that were just sections of her journal, and we were reading it with Lena, and that was something that I felt was extremely important. And it gave so much character to the mom because we didn't know much about her other than she passed away until we opened up that journal and we learned about her time in photography school and about her roommate Francesca and about how they would go to secret bakeries, and just learned all this and important things about her mom that she would have never knew if she didn't have this journal, because it was just secrets that her mom kind of kept because she didn't talk about Italy. And you'd think if you traveled to Italy and you lived there for a year and went to photography school there, I feel like that's something you would want to talk about and how amazing that experience was. But her mom didn't want any of that. Her mom just wanted to raise her child in America and just kind of mind her own business. And in some ways I agree with her. I feel like I would want to do that as well, but in another way I feel like that was such an amazing experience for her. It always was lost upon me how if her father was someone as sweet as Howard, why would you want to keep that from your child? But then as we learned that obviously Howard was not her father, it was like, what? In some ways I can agree with the things that Lena's mother did, and in some ways she really aggravates the hell out of me because I'm like, girl, I can't deal. The romance in this book. Okay, so Ren and Lena. Let's talk about Ren and Lena for a hot minute, because I knew they were gonna get together from the beginning of the story, because I feel like you always get together with like the person you would never expect. And that's exactly what it was. I never expected her to get with him. I expected her to get with that British man Thomas, because Thomas was like a hunk, right? Thomas was like, ooh man. He was like the perfect like magazine model man, long brown hair, nice eyebrows, the whole shebang. She didn't get with him and he was kind of a jerk anyway, so I guess I can't be too angry about the fact that he was kind of a jerk, but what am I gonna do about it? It's not my boyfriend, okay? What am I gonna do? But the romance wasn't mushy-gushy. Like a lot of YA contemporary, when they have kind of mushy-gushy scenes that should be like more romantic, they're kind of over the top, and this wasn't like this. The mushy-gushy scenes that were supposed to be kind of like overly romantic weren't. There were those awkward moments that you get as a teenager with your romance, and I feel like it just made it that much more real. Now, something that I did find disappointing in this book was the fact that there was a lack of Italian representation. Now, I say this because throughout most of the people that Lena meets in Italy, most of them are not Italian. They're Italian American, Americans that have moved to Italy that are prominently American. They came from America, or they came from Great Britain, Ireland, places that don't speak Italian. So you can tell they aren't full Italian. There was only 2 characters I can remember that were full Italian, and they still went to the American school because her parents were American. And I was like, I felt like that's something that really lacked throughout the book, was that representation, because we were in Italy, so I expected to have more Italian representation, but there wasn't very much, and that was kind of disappointing to me. And the very last thing I want to talk about with the spoiler section is Lena's relationship with her mother. Now, she always talked about how she had such a fantastic relationship with her mother, and her mother was kind of her rock. Something that super aggravated me was that her mother was her rock, and she wrote all these journals and wrote about her life stories, but you never told your child about the biggest things that happened in your life. Like, that was super disappointing, because I just expected more out of Lena's mom, and when I didn't get that, I was very disappointed. So that is going to be the end of my review for Love and Gelato. So a little bit of a wrap up. I absolutely love this book. The scenery was phenomenal. I love the fact that they were set in Italy. You got to learn a lot about Italian architecture and just learn a little bit about Italy that I'm sure you've never knew before. Something I really loved about this book was the main characters and how determined they were to do and get what they wanted. I overall gave this book a 4.5 stars, and Goodreads has it as a 4.1 stars, so I call this a pretty accurate read. Without further ado, that is going to be the end of my chapter chat of Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a super big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below and tell me if you read this book or what you thought about it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I upload every Monday and Thursday at 11:45 a.m. Eastern time, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!